Hello everyone and welcome to video 2 on module that's reading comprehension. So in the last video we have seen about management examination as such. We talked about some of the problems which is faced by students. We talked about why vocab is important. We talked about cat snap. So today in this particular video what I'm going to talk about is the kind of questions. So that's where I want to start with the kind of questions which you can expect in the CAT examination. And when we were discussing that going back to the passages, will it really help, or what CAT is expecting from the students, or over the years CAT ने किस तरीके से questions पूछे हैं, we'll talk about that. So when I'm talking about the types of questions, the first on the list is main idea. So I hope you remember, अगर आपने वीडियो अच्छी तरीके से सुना हो, my first video on reading comprehension, we talked about comprehension, we talked about main idea. Why it is important, let's understand now. अब for example, अगर आपको passage आ गया है, आपको you have a 750 to 800 words odd passage, and वहां पर आपको question दिया हुआ है, what is the main idea of the passage? Passage का main idea क्यों है? और मैं कुछ questions पूछता रहूंगा, आप आंसर अपने मन में देते रहिएगा. Will it really help going to the passages? I am going to the passage? Ideally not. पहली बार में अगर आप पैसेज पढ़ रहे हैं उसको इतने इत्मीनान से पढ़िए, जो मैं बोल रहा था, जो मैंने पिछली बार पूरा कैलकुलेशन आपको बताया था 60 मिनट्स वाला, आपको पैसेज 9 मिनट्स के अंदर ढंग से पढ़ना है, मतलब along with the questions obviously, so that 6 minutes roughly which you will be giving to the passages, there you have to understand that you don't have to go to the passage for the questions like this, main idea, right? You will also get the question for, apart from main idea, the questions which you will get is what is the suitable title of the given passage. So if you talk about suitable title of the given passage, going back to the passage will not really help, right? Suitable title of the passage, main idea, ये चीजें आपको help नहीं करेंगी. The next is when I'm talking about the specific idea. So अगर main idea questions को solve करना है, as I repeat, again get to the crux of the passage, introduction, the first paragraph, again very important. The last paragraph equally important, because here we are talking about conclusion, here we are talking about introduction, and these are the things which is very, very important. So that's where we are talking about main idea based questions. The second is specific idea. अब आप उस पूरे पैसेज के अंदर देखेंगे, so ये आपको बेसिकली ये पूछना चाह रहा है कि आपको पूरा पैसेज टोटलिटी में किस तरीके से समझ में आया. When we are talking about specific idea questions, in this specific idea questions, what author is trying to say is that they must have mentioned specific examples. They must have mentioned specifically examples. They must have mentioned some phrases there. They have mentioned a particular instance there, a particular topic there. So when I'm talking about a particular topic there, or a phrase is there, or a specific example there, why they have given that, what's the reason behind that, and that's where, my dear students, specific idea will come into picture. Again, going back to the passages, yes, it can help, but it will waste a lot of time. So जहां पर quotation आ रही है, examples आ रहे हैं, या जो भी चीज आ रही है, वहां पर एक बार देख लो, और वो मेरे ख्याल से आप अगर मेन आइडिया समझ लोगे तो ये चीजें ऑटोमेटिकली आ जाएंगी, बिकॉज ऑल यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड इज द context in which the passage is written, right? Logical structure questions. So logical structure question is probably what can be the logical corollary of the given passage? What can be the logical extension of the given passage? Or for that matter, they will ask you the question, if at all ये पैराग्राफ और स्ट्रेच होता, जो पैसेज और स्ट्रेच होता, what likely would be the next paragraph, or what likely would be the discussion in the next paragraph, which means you have to understand the logical structure. Author is, let's say, starting with the introduction, then author is talking about if let's say it's an analytical kind of a passage, the author is talking about pros and cons of the topic in the question, and then he's introducing the next thing, then he's talking about the pros and cons of that, and उसके बाद conclusion आ रहा है, what can be the next? So it's like a logical structure. What exactly would be the next thing coming up? Again, the last overall passage understanding is very important, but the last conclusion of the last paragraph or the penultimate paragraph is more important than that, right? Implied idea questions. So when I'm talking, I hope you must have writing these down or are taking the screenshots also. When I'm talking about the implied idea questions generally deal with inference, cat favorite, Z favorite, the inference based questions. Read between the lines. Why author is talking about all those things? The passage it can be a extract from what? The passage can be an extract from what? From where they have taken the passage. The author basically क्या हो सकता है? What you can say about the author, right? So inference is reading between the lines. That's implied idea questions. Again, going back to the passage won't really help. Further application questions, right? Here I think more or less थोड़ा बहुत पैसे में जाओगे किसी पर्टिकुलर चीज के लिए तो हेल्प हो जाएगा. When I'm talking about further application questions, they will typically talk about a specific thing and they will ask questions related to that, right? That is further application questions. Tone based questions. Now we know the tone is negative or a positive or a neutral, but we are very poor with vocabulary. That's point number one, which I've discussed in my first module. But here the more challenge is in tone based questions that you have to understand the tone of the author in the complete passage, in the complete paragraph about the certain thing, because the tone of the author will change also sometimes, because the question can be the overall tone of the passage, or the question can be the tone of the passage towards that particular character they are talking about, the tone of the passage towards some X thing they are talking about. So the tone will change, right? So that's why understanding the tone is very important. Very sorry for that. Yeah, so that's why understanding the tone also is very important. So these are the types of questions which you need to understand, which you need to take care of. And as I said, going back to the passage will not really help, guys. And इसीलिए इन क्वेश्चंस के लिए रेडी रहो. और अब मैं ये चीजें क्यों बता रहा हूं, let's understand in the next slide. Now see here, I'm taking an example of CAT 2020. Understand with me what I'm trying to explain. I'm taking an example of CAT 2020. That's slot 1, slot 2, slot 3. CAT 2020 basically 3 slots के अंदर हुआ था. जनरली ये 2 slots के अंदर होता है. Now if you see, अगर आप देख पा रहे हैं लास्ट के अंदर जो मैंने मेंशन किया हुआ है, that is inference, logical structure, specific idea, main idea, fact based, tone based, right? Now first of all I want to go here. The fact based questions. जब हम बोलते हैं ना, we go to the passage again and again. Passage में बारी बारी जाना हमारा जन्मसिद्ध अधिकार है. Will it really help? Let's see. So we are talking about out of 18 questions, 7 questions are fact based. So that's not, I'm saying 70% of your paper is inference based, right? Slot 1 and slot 2, out of 18 questions only 4 of them are fact based. Tone based question only 1. Basically tone based question Z के अंदर आप expect कर सकते हो, tone based questions आप NMAT में expect कर सकते हो. ये दोनों एग्जाम्स में आपको ज्यादा tone based question मिलते हैं, right? Main idea based questions तीनों slot के अंदर, right? Specific idea based questions तीनों slot के अंदर. Why author is giving that particular example? Logical structure questions slot 1 and slot 2, not in slot 3. Inference based questions 7 in slot 1, 3 in slot 2, 5 in slot 3. Now why I am giving you all this example is, now going back to the passages, इसीलिए मैं बोल रहा हूँ will not really help, and you have to focus on why rather than what. जो मैंने लिखा था वो rather इसलिए लिखा था, this is the story which is there in front of you कि क्यों मैं ये सारी चीजें बोल रहा हूँ. This is actual analysis which I have done for CAT 2020. Take the screenshot if needed, because it will really be helpful for you guys in your preparation. Passages taken in CAT. Through the years, I have taken some of the prominent websites here, 16, 17, 18, 19, right? 20 I have not taken. So ye 19 tak ke hai. So some of the websites, prominent websites is Aeon Essays, right? But Aeon Essays, if you see, 1500 to 2000 odd words. They will not take the whole essay from there, but an extract from that essay, 700 to 800 words, but really good ones, and you need a lot of comprehension there, right? And you will get all, it's a free this thing. You can read as many articles you want and try to frame questions if possible, but yes, you can expect many questions because every year, at least 2 passages from Aeon Essays, all 2 slots put together you can expect, right? So Aeon Essays are there. Then you have The Guardian. So I'm just talking about some of the good websites where they take Smithsonian, right? Smithsonian is something which is very important. Then I would suggest the New Yorker, the newyorker.com, and NY Times again, NY Times, Wall Street Journal, yes, you can see that also. So these are some of the prominent, and if you see in 2019, there was a book specifically, Topophilia, wahan se liya gaya hai ye. We have read the Topophilia in our vocabulary module, go through that, right? So the Atlantic se liya gaya hai, Time, Economist. So you have a variety of the sources. So why I am talking about all those things? Because CAT basically, if you see here on the slide, CAT foreign resources se bahut zyada passages leta hai rather than from Indian resources. It's even more important to read these foreign resources, right? So this is something, the articles which is written, taken from reading comprehension. Now, at the last, my thing is, let's solve one passage together. Let's solve one passage together. Let's see the questions together. Let's see how it can be solved and what is your understanding about solving the passages. And your time starts now. This is CAT 2017 Shift 2. This is CAT 2017 Shift 2. Pause the video for a while, and I would say, so I've not taken the timer today, right? So I would say you should take, let's say, 7 minutes for this passage now. Take 7 minutes, no problem. And your time starts now. Pause the video exactly 7 minutes, and then you can just start again. I'm sure that you might have read the passage by now. Let's solve the passage. Let's see क्या-क्या चीजें इसके अंदर important note करने लायक थी, क्या, where we should put emphasis on, where we should ignore the things. Let's talk about all those stuff in this particular passage. Let's start. During the frigid season, when I'm talking about a frigid season, we are talking about the cold season there. During the frigid season, it's often necessary to nestle under a blanket. It's often necessary to nestle under a blanket to try to stay warm. Sir, we know that. हम बाहर ही नहीं निकलते हैं, right? So in the frigid season, it's necessary to nestle under the blanket to stay warm. The temperature between the blanket and the air outside, the temperature between the blanket and the air outside is so palpable that we often have trouble leaving our farm refuge. Palpable का मतलब क्या होता है, right? वो बोल रहा है difference between the blanket and the air outside. जो मैं अंदर comfort महसूस कर रहा हूँ, that's so comfortable that we often have trouble leaving our warm refuge. We don't want to go out of the blanket. We know that, sir. That is something which is there in the cold season, right? Many plant and animals similarly hunker down, relying on snow cover for safety from winter harsh condition. अब ये क्या बोल रहा है? That many plants and animals, they similarly hunker down, relying on snow cover. So जो snow का cover होता है, हम लोग जनरली बोलते हैं ना कि snow बहुत ठंडा है, क्या होगा क्या नहीं होगा. Snow का जो cover होता है नीचे, मतलब there is a snow cover, and underside, right? I mean, under the snow cover, there the conditions are slightly better than the harsh condition outside, right? So they hunker down, relying on the cover for safety from winter harsh condition. The small area between the snowpack and the ground. Now there is a ground here, and there is a snowpack here, right? Is between, in between there, यहाँ जाके animals जो हैं वहाँ पर वो रह जाते हैं. And what this area is called as? This area is called as subnivum. This area is called as subnivum. Ground और snow cover के बीच का जो space है, that is subnivum, right? Might be the most important ecosystem that you have never heard of. So we are talking about here, so if I talk about the first paragraph, we are author is kind of telling us what exactly subniveum is, we might have not heard of. And what is this subniveum is? This is the space between the ground and the snow cover, and that's very important for many plants and animals together. Many plants and animals together, and they have taken the analogy with the blanket and when we take that refuge in the blanket, right? So that's passage number 1. I mean paragraph number 1. Paragraph 2. The subniveum is so well insulated and stable that its temperature holds steady at around 32 degree Fahrenheit. So now they are talking about why. So यहाँ पर इन्होंने बोल दिया it's the most important ecosystem. That's the most important ecosystem. And my second paragraph is giving me the reason why the author is saying that. Why? So author has concluded that it is the most important thing. Why? On what basis? What's the premise for that? The premise is that it's so well insulated that it can maintain a steady temperature of 32 degree, which is 32 degree Fahrenheit, which is exactly 0. Because when we are talking about the places where the snow is there, they are talking about the temperatures in negative. Or यहाँ पर it maintains a 0 degree temperature. Although that might still sound cold. So it sounds cold to us, a 0 degree, but for them it's far better, right? A constant temperature of 32 degree Fahrenheit can often be 30 to 40 degrees warmer. It's 30 to 40 degree warmer, that 0 degree temperature, than the air temperature during the peak of winter. And because of this, variety of species depend on the subniveum for winter protection. So first we are talking about subniveum, second we are talking about why. So I'll just conclude first also. First is what is subniveum? The second is why of a subniveum, right? Let's talk about passage 3. For many organisms living in temperature and Arctic regions, the difference between being under the snow or outside is the matter of life and death. Extending. This is further extending my premise 2. First यहाँ पर premise हो रहा था temperature का, यहाँ पर उसी premise को और explain कर रहा है. It is extending my second paragraph. It's a matter of life and death. Consequently, disruptions to the subniveum brought about by climate change will affect everything from population dynamics to nutrient cycle through the ecosystem. Now what they are saying is, when he talked about might be the most important ecosystem, then he talked about subniveum, the importance of subniveum. He extended that importance, and now he's taking into the next part of it that if there is any effect on this particular, it will be from population dynamics to the nutrient cycling through the ecosystem. So in the last line here, he's now kind of, as I said, anticipate the reading. So from last line, now I can anticipate that next paragraph will surely be of that how we as a system as a whole are kind of destroying that subniveum and what effect it can be there on these plants and species. Anticipate, guys. So the formation and stability of the subniveum. So इसका formation कैसे होता है और इसकी stability कैसे maintain होती है. पहले तो वो gap कैसे form होता है और उसकी stability. The formation and stability of subniveum requires more than few flurries. It's not that easy. Winter ecologists have suggested that 8 inches of snow, what you need to do here is, so when I'm talking about here, we are talking about ground, and ground ke upar we are talking about snow. This snow should be of at least 8 inches. So 8 inches of snow is necessary to develop a stable layer of insulation. Depth is not the only factor. That's not the, when we are talking about 8 inches of snow, so ground ke upar, very sorry for that again. So we are talking about ground here. Ground ke here we are talking about 8 inches of snow here. So let's say we are talking about 8 inches of snow, right? So that's the depth we are talking about. So depth is not the only factor. However, as I said, You have to be very cautious when you see the word however. However, more accurately, the stability of subminium depends on the interaction between the snow depth and the snow density. It should not only be the depth, it should also be the density. स्नो की डेंसिटी पे बहुत कुछ डिपेंड करेगा, कैसी वाली है स्नो, अच्छी है या नहीं है. सो डेप्थ एंड डेंसिटी. इमेजिन नाउ अगेन analogy. Author is trying to explain anything by analogy. Why I am using this word analogy in the first paragraph, this paragraph also, because you might get the question. Analogy, हमें पता ही नहीं होता है, right? So again, analogy. Imagine being under a stack of a blanket that are all flattened and pressed together. अब वो example बता रहा है जिनको density और depth के अंदर मतलब नहीं पता है. वो क्या बोल रहा है? Imagine being under a stack of blanket that are all flattened and pressed together. When compressed, अब तुम्हारे पास blankets हैं 5. So let's say you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 5 blankets, right? They are flattened and pressed together. What is it? It is a one compacted layer. 5 ब्लैंकेट एक साथ ओढ़ लिए, इट्स अ वन कॉम्पैक्टेड लेयर. तुमने उसको इतनी अच्छी तरीके से कंप्रेस कर दिया है. सो ये ध्यान रखना विंटर्स में तुम्हारे लिए काम आएगा, राइट? इन कॉन्ट्रास्ट, when they are lightly placed on top of one another, आप ब्लैंकेट्स को 1 रखो, 2 रखो, 3 रखिए, 4 रखिए, रखते जाओ ऐसे ही. उन सब ब्लैंकेट्स के बीच में क्या होगा? Let's see that. When they are lightly placed on top of each other, their insulative capacity increases because ये जो एयर पॉकेट्स बीच बीच में जो गैप है, ये हीट को ट्रैप कर लेंगे. और ग्रेटर डेप्थ ऑफ लो डेंसिटी स्नो आर देयरफॉर बेटर एट इंसुलेटिंग द ग्राउंड. आपको डेप्थ ज्यादा चाहिए, बट डेंसिटी उनकी लो चाहिए, ज्यादा डेंसिटी वाले नहीं चाहिए. सो ग्रेटर डेप्थ, लो डेंसिटी, हियर वी गो, एनिमल्स एंड स्पीशीज विल बी प्रोटेक्टेड. सो एग्जांपल दिया उन्होंने ब्लैंकेट्स. Both depth and density of snow are sensitive to temperature. अब ये दोनों किससे सेंसिटिव हैं? इनके लिए सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट रोल जो प्ले करता है, that's my dear friends, temperature. Temperature will play a very important role. Scientist, अब जहां टेम्परेचर की बात आ गई, हम तो पहले ही बोल रहे हैं ग्लेशियर्स पिघल रहे हैं, हालत खराब हो रही है, blah blah stuff. Okay, scientists are now beginning to explore how climate change will affect the subnivum as well as the species depending on it. अब उन्होंने क्या फाइंड आउट किया? एट फर्स्ट ग्लांस वार्मर विंटर सीम बेनिफिशियल फॉर स्पीशीज दैट हैव डिफिकल्टी सर्वाइविंग सब जीरो टेम्परेचर. इनिशियली वो बोल रहे हैं विंटर जितनी गर्म होगी वो अच्छा है, विंटर जितनी गर्म होगी वो अच्छा है. आगे देखते हैं. अगेन, हाउएवर वार्मर विंटर्स इट इज गुड फॉर द पीपल. ऑब्वियसली उनको स्नो नहीं होगी, माइनस डिग्री नहीं होगा, जिंदा रह पाएंगे, बट दैट्स नॉट गुड. हाउएवर एज, अब देखो मैं एंटीसिपेशन का एग्जांपल बताता हूं. उन्होंने यहां पर वर्ड यूज किया एट फर्स्ट ग्लांस. पहली बार में देखा तो हमें ये लगा, वेरी श्योर यू शुड एंटीसिपेट दैट समथिंग व्हिच इज नॉट क्लियर इन द फर्स्ट ग्लांस, उसके ऊपर बात होगी, एंटीसिपेट, राइट? So, however, as with the most ecological phenomena, the consequences are not so straightforward. Not so straightforward thing. Research has shown that snow season has become shorter. Now snow season जो है पूरा shorter हो रहा है. When rain falls on the snow, it increases the density. जब snow के ऊपर rain आती है, shorter हो गया snow season, shorter हो गया, rain जल्दी आएगी, rain आ गई तो वो इसकी density को खत्म कर देगी. क्या बोल रहा है? When rain falls of snow, it increases the density of snow and reduces its insulative capacity. Therefore, even though winters are expected to be warmer, but overall, अगर तुम देखोगे from future climate change, the subnivum will tend to become colder and more variable with less protection. Winter warmer हो जाएगी, ठीक है, टेम्परेचर कम हो जाएगा, बट सबनिवियम नहीं बन पाएगा. सबनिवियम जो है वो और कोल्ड हो जाएगा. ये जो गैप है सबनिवियम, ये कोल्ड हो जाएगा. और अगर ये कोल्ड हो जाएगा तो यहां पर स्पीशीज और या प्लांट्स और एनिमल्स, इन लोगों के लिए बहुत ज्यादा डिफिकल्टी होने वाली है, राइट? एंड द लास्ट इज द इफेक्ट ऑफ अ कोल्डर सबनिवियम आर कॉम्प्लेक्स. और इसके इफेक्ट बहुत कॉम्प्लेक्स है. एग्जांपल दे रहे हैं. अब यहां तक मेन आइडिया समझ में आ गया. एग्जांपल इज shrubs such as crowberry and alpine azalea that grow along the forest floor, they tend to block the wind. ये wind को block करते हैं. ये जो shrubs हैं, ये winds को block करते हैं. Winds बहुत ज्यादा snow areas में बहुत तेजी से बहती हैं, उनको block करते हैं, और इस वजह से they retain higher depth of snow around them. तो उनके चारों तरफ वो depth of snow को retain कर लेते हैं. This captured snow helps to keep the soil insulated. और ये जो snow को capture करते हैं, ये soil को insulate रखती है, और soil को insulate करेगी, जिस वजह से plant decomposition and nutrient release होगा. और इस वजह से वो क्या बोल रहा है, in field experiment रिसर्चर ने क्या किया, they removed a portion of the snow cover to investigate the importance of the subniveum insulation. और उन्हें क्या लगा कि प्लांट की रूट डैमेज हो जाती है. अब इसका इंप्लीकेशन देखो, अगर ये क्रोबेरी और एल्पाइन कोल्ड रीजन में जी नहीं पाएंगे, अगर ये जी नहीं पाएंगे तो सॉइल जो है वो इंसुलेट हो नहीं पाएगी. सॉइल इंसुलेट नहीं हो पाएगी तो प्लांट के रूट डिस्ट्रॉय हो जाएंगे. इसीलिए वार्मर विंटर्स आर बैड. सो कंक्लूजन इज वार्मर विंटर्स आर बैड. इट शुड नॉट बी देयर. उसके लॉन्ग टर्म इफेक्ट ज्यादा है. एंड this is how your passage look like when you are reading, when you are solving on books, when you are solving online. This is how you should understand. This is how messy your passage looks like, because you might, if you see, if someone, let's say as an outsider will see this is how messy your passage look like, but समझ आप तभी पाओगे. And this is how the you have to do the analysis when you are solving the passage. ठीक है? Okay, now let's move to the questions. Let's move to the questions one by one. And I am sure अगर तुमने passage इसी तरीके से पढ़ा है तो तुम question को भी अच्छी तरह solve कर पाओगे. So the passage is there in front of you. The purpose of this passage is, now I'll show you the example. Going back to the passage, no sir, it will not help. आपको basically ऊपर passage दिया होगा, नीचे question दिया होगा, मैंने side में रखा है. I mean वहां पर भी side में होगा, बट पैसेज बड़ा होगा तो यू हैव टू स्क्रॉल अप एंड डाउन. इतनी क्लियरिटी से एक जगह नहीं दे रखा होगा. द पर्पस ऑफ दिस पैसेज इज टू डू व्हाट, राइट? लेट्स सी. इंट्रोड्यूस रीडर्स टू अ रिलेटिवली अननोन इकोसिस्टम, द सबनिवियम. कैन बी द आंसर. कैन बी द आंसर. ठीक है, लेट्स सी. बी, एक्सप्लेन हाउ द सबनिवियम वर्क्स टू प्रोवाइड शेल्टर एंड फूड टू सेवरल स्पीशीज. ओके. Okay. Third, outline the effect of climate change on the subniveum. Fine. And fourth is draw an analogy between the effect of blanket and human and of snow cover on the species living in the subniveum. अब एक प्रॉब्लम हम जिससे ग्रसित हैं कि जैसे हमने, if you see any option, we kind of start jumping around happily. Yeah, I got the answer. Every line from the passage is not the answer. Hang on, and that's why I always say, see what you are solving. Now the question was the purpose of this passage, which means the purpose of this passage right from here to here. If I go to option number 1, we are talking about introducing readers to subniveum. Now if I introduce readers to subniveum, yahan par we are talking about how this subniveum is getting affected. How the increasing temperature is having an effect on subniveum. How the plants and species are dependent on this particular subniveum. So this option is, not complete. This option is not complete. And I have some other good options also. I have to give the best of the answer. And if I talk about between A and C, I will go with C, not with A, because यहाँ पर हम बात कर रहे हैं सबनिवियम के बारे में. क्या मुझे नहीं समझ में आ रहा कि आप सबनिवियम के पॉजिटिव वे की बात कर. अगर मैं यहां से बोलता हूं, लेट्स इग्नोर द पैसेज, इंट्रोड्यूस रीडर्स टू अ रिलेटिव अननोन इकोसिस्टम सबनिवियम. व्हाट इज इट? इज द सबनिवियम पॉजिटिव? इज द सबनिवियम नेगेटिव इफेक्ट्स? आई डोंट नो, राइट? सो दैट्स नॉट कंप्लीट ऑप्शन. एलिमिनेशन. सो not my answer. The purpose of the passage right from here till here, you have to define that. Second, explain how the subniveum works to provide shelter and food. Nowhere we talked about the food. Nowhere, I don't think anywhere we talked about food. We talked about more of a shelter, more about warmth we are talking about. We are not concerned about food. My out of context option B, eliminated. When we are talking about D, a very narrow option. वो क्या बोलना चाह रहा है? Primary purpose of the passage is what? To draw an analogy? No. Analogy, they have just mentioned there to give an example, not the primary purpose. The primary purpose was option number C, when they mentioned very clearly that it outlined the effect of climate change on the subnivum. How my climate change is affecting my subnivum, that is what the purpose of the passage is, and hence C should be my right answer. Right? If here also, if I have to twist that option, I will say one more option, let's say option number E. Outline the effect of a negative climate change on subnivum. So I will probably go with that last option, because climate change, positive or negative, I don't know. I'll talk about how negative climate change is affecting my subnivum in a negative way. And that can be my answer, because यहाँ पर हमारे पास 4 option है, we should go with C. Clear everyone? I hope it is clear. Whatever questions you have, अगर आपको कुछ इसके अंदर argument है, if you have some other opinion, do write in the comment section below. I am ready to discuss for that, right? So you can do that, or you can just ping me in the Telegram group. I'll just revert there as well. Let's go to the second question. All of the following statements are true except the options are. Now depth and so all of the following statements are true except एक statement true नहीं है, एक statement true नहीं है, बाकी चारों true है, and your answer should be, let's see. Let's go from D. Researchers have established the adverse effect of dwindling snow cover on the subnivum. वो क्या बोल रहा है? रिसर्चर ने establish किया है that the adverse effect of dwindling snow cover on the subnivum. True, that's what they are saying, कि जैसे ही स्नो कवर की डेंसिटी बढ़ेगी, जैसे ही स्नो कवर की डेंसिटी बढ़ेगी, उस तरीके से वो खराब हो जाएगा. सो ये ऑलरेडी गिवन है. लेट्स गो टू सी. द सबनिवियम मेंटेन्स अ स्टेडी टेम्परेचर दैट कैन बी 30 to 40 डिग्री, that can be 30 to 40 degree warmer than the winter air temperature. They have given it somewhere. Here we go. So they have mentioned it very clearly. So it is given here. C is given. And then we are talking about D option. I'll just mention here as well. So here we go. D is also given here. So यहाँ पर मेरा D दिया हुआ है, यहाँ पर मेरा C दिया हुआ है. Let's go to option number B. Climate change has some positive effects. No sir, no. Out of context. अब मैं यही बोल रहा हूं, ये पैसेज को सॉल्व करने के लिए, if you are kind of being doubly sure to go to the passage, you are doing a blunder. You can't do this blunder, waste your time for question like this. And ये कैट का क्वेश्चन है, समझो. कैट हमारे माइंड के अंदर मेंटलिटी हो जाती है, कैट आरसी बहुत टफ आ जाता है. यू रीड द पैसेज प्रॉपर्ली एंड बिलीव मी, इस क्वेश्चन को सॉल्व करने के लिए आई वोंट इवन गो टू सी एंड डी ऑप्शन. I just, मैं इससे क्यों गया हूं? Because I want to explain you guys. But if I go A and B, I'll not even read C and D. Let's go to A option. Now depth and snow density both influence the stability. Yes, it is given. So given. The only thing which is not given, which is B, and this should be my, sorry for that, and this should be my right answer. Clear everyone? I hope it is clear. Now let's move to the next. Based on this extract, what is given to you, the author would support which of the following action? So, author will support, based on the reasoning what author is giving, what he will support. Let's understand that also. What is he will support? The use of snow machines in winter to ensure snow cover of at least 8 inches. So, what they are saying is, the use of snow machines in winter to ensure snow cover is of at least 8 inches. Okay, ठीक है. Let's see. So अगर मान लो मैं इसको आंसर मार्क कर देता हूं, but what about density? What about density? What about increasing temperature? What about density? What about increasing temperature? That's the question which I'm asking you guys. Let's see the next. Government action to curb climate change. So that's where we are talking about climate change. Climate change पे एक्शन लोगे, climate change पे एक्शन लोगे तो टेम्परेचर जो है वो ज्यादा बढ़ेगा नहीं. टेम्परेचर जो है, सॉरी फॉर दैट, टेम्परेचर कंट्रोल में रख सकते हो आप. यू कैन कंट्रोल द टेम्परेचर. इफ यू कैन कंट्रोल द टेम्परेचर, योर विंटर्स विल बी cooler, it won't be warmer. If winter will be cooler, subnemium can be intact, and that is having a major impact. I can say B option as an answer. So that's again an incomplete, not giving me the right solution, not giving me the complete solution. Solution is not there. Let's go to option number C. Adding nutrients to the soil, what impact it will be? Anyways, it is affecting, if you see here, it is damaging the plant roots. If you are damaging to the plant roots, nutrients won't help. It's again not a valid reason, valid solution. Planting more shrubs, even if you plant more shrubs, your subnemium is not able to, it is getting warmer, is not able to sustain those shrubs, and D option again is not the right answer. I go with B as an answer. I hope it is clear, guys. Please do comment, and I want your comments in the section below that whether you are getting the explanation or not. That will really help us to come up with more passages like this or come up with more ideas how to explain you guys. Let's go to question number 3. Question number 3 is all about, in paragraph 6, the author provides the example of crowberry and alpine azalea to demonstrate that. What author wants to demonstrate? That's what they are asking. Let's go to the questions now. What kind of questions they have? So let's talk about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when I'm talking about 6, they are talking about this paragraph. And this is, guys, specific idea question. This is specific idea question in paragraph 6. The author provide the example for what? Why they are giving this question. So this is specific idea question. If I just go back, based on this extract, the author would support which of the following actions. This is again an implied idea questions. If I go back, all of the following statements are true except this is a fact-based question. And if I just go back, they are talking about the purpose of this passage is ये एक main idea based question है. So again, I am telling you guys, this is a main idea based question. I'll just write one by one. Oops. So this first question was main idea. You can just note that down so that it will help you out. The second, when I am talking about this question, this is a fact-based question. This is a fact-based question. If I go to question number 3, this is implied idea question. This is implied idea based question. I hope you guys are getting it. And the next, when we are talking about this is a specific idea based question. This is specific idea based question. Okay. In paragraph 6, क्यों वो दे रहा है? Let's talk about option A. Despite frigid temperature, several species survive. No, they are not surviving. They are not surviving. Exactly opposite of what it is given in the passage. They are not surviving. What they are saying is they tend to block the wind and so retain. अगर वो नहीं होंगे, उस वजह से damage हो जाएगा. That's what they want to show. Exactly opposite inference. Second, due to frigid temperature in the temperate and Arctic regions, plant species that survive tend to be shrubs rather than trees. Out of context, we are not talking about the comparison between shrubs or trees. Eliminate. C, the crowberry and alpine azalea are abundant. I don't know whether they are abundant or not. They are present. I know that they are present. But whether they are abundant, that's the question mark. I don't know. And D option, obviously my answer. The stability of the subnemium depend on several interrelated factors, including shrubs on the forest floor. So D should be my right answer. So let's see the slides for a minute, pause for a while, see how I have eliminated. Rewind the video if you want, because that's what you need to get. What exactly the logic I am getting into in this video. When we are solving passage for the first time, I am not concerned whether you are marking the option right or not. I am more concerned whether you are getting the right logic or not. Let's go to the last question here. The last question is, which one of the following statement can be inferred? Definitely my implied idea question. Definitely my implied idea question. Which one of the following statement can be inferred from the passage? And your options are Let's go with D again. The loss, implied idea, inference. The loss of the subniveum while tragic will affect only temperate and arctic regions. वो बोल रहा है loss of the subniveum while tragic, tragic है, it will affect only temperate and arctic region, narrow. They have discussed in this about temperate and arctic, but will it happen only here? I don't know. अब ये मत बोलना कि सर इसका मतलब तो यही है, मत बोलना ऐसी चीज, because I'll only just solve the passage, I'll only solve the questions according to the passage only. Let's go to C. A compact layer of wool is warmer than a similarly compact layer of goose down. I don't know. Right? I don't know. I can't infer this. So pehli baat, we are not talking about a compact layer. We are talking about those loose layers, because the moment the layer is loose, वहां पर जो है आपकी heat trap होती है. We are not even concerned about compact layer. Climate change affects temperature and Arctic. Climate change affects temperature and Arctic region more than equatorial and arid ones. So we are not mentioning about equatorial and arid. That's again out of scope of the passage. The passage here, from here till here, is not talking about equatorial and the ones. So out of scope, I am repeating it again. All the three options, I am repeating it again. So equatorial and arid ones, nowhere given, out of the scope. A compact layer, no, it is the loose layer always. And only, I don't know. Let's go to A. In the ecosystem, altering any one element has a ripple effect on all others. This can be my answer, because when I'm altering one effect, we are talking about warmer temperatures. It is affecting my animals, it is affecting my ecosystem, because they have specifically mentioned ecosystem. And when they have mentioned ecosystem, which means we are talking about all the things here. And that's why one option, first A option, is the right answer. Right? So this is how you need to solve the passages. And with this, we are coming to an end on the video number 2 on reading comprehension. And I'm sure you must have got a fair idea. That's just the starting. We have only solved the first passage. And I'm sure you just got the fair idea how to eliminate the options, how to read the options. There are more passages like this coming up. We'll talk about sociology, psychology, business, economics. There are more interesting things coming up, and I'll be taking passages from past year questions from various entrance examinations also, along with what I'm teaching in these videos also. So with this, coming to an end of this session, thank you and keep watching Ekoching.